conversation is with Reinaldo Donati, who runs a Montessori school in Wrocław, Poland. So stick around to listen to our conversation.
Born in Venezuela. I went to live in the United Kingdom 20 years ago, and after a few years ago, I moved to Poland. Poland because my wife is Polish and she's native from this city. So that was a way to come here. I would have never thought in my previous life that I would be living in Poland, but hey, here I am.
And do you like it there? What's the best part of Poland?
Well, specifically the city I'm living in is an amazing city. It's a city which is around 1,000 years old. Very cosmopolitan now. It's a city that, or the whole of Poland, the Poland territory has been passing from hands throughout the years, different empires, different occupations. It has been for many years a German city during the Second World War. Outstanding architecture, a multitude of people. Is a university city, therefore you have people from all around the world. And I would think that's why I feel so comfortable here. It is Poland, but in a way you got so many nationalities living under one roof that is a city of the world, I would call it.
And that fits well into your profile with the Montessori school.
Most definitely. I mean, with the Montessori school, Montessori as an education is, we talk about the world as one. No borders, no territories, no you and me. Is mostly about us. In fact, on the 21st of September 2019, Saturday, there is a World Peace Day. There is a lady who created a song, which is a Montessorian, and she's a musician, and it's a peace world song. And on that day, 44,000 schools, I believe, all around the world are going to be singing the song for 24 hours. We're going to be part of that singing. Our slot would be at 10 in the morning on Saturday. And when every school finishes, another school takes over. Wow. I would say it is a Montessori thing, but everyone is very welcome to join. At the end of the day, we're talking about world peace. We're not talking about Montessori. On that specific day, we will be erecting our peace pole. If you were interested to know what is that, I'm sure you will find it in Google. So it is a pole that we stayed peace on earth in different languages. We will be probably raising flags of all countries in the world as being one. Because at the end of the day, we're all citizens of one place, and it's planet Earth. We might have different skin colors, we might have different facial gestures and ways of living and cultures, but at the end of the day, we are all native of one place, and which is Mother Earth. So we will be erecting on that specific day, our first time we do it, because we are quite a young school, our peace pole, and we will be singing, joining thousands of people all around the world, which for me is amazing.
Wow. Okay, I can tell you right now that a good company will definitely be joining in. That's
excellent.
Fantastic.
So if you were to go into the internet, you will see Sing Peace Around the World.
Okay, that's fantastic. I'm sure the people that watching this will also join. So you'll have thousands more people.
Excellent. Well, that's our aim, to bring knowledge, and knowledge in time changes attitude and it brings awareness. That's our biggest motive. That was our biggest aim.
That sounds great. So, and this sounds like something you're passionate about. How come you ended up working for a Montessori school, or working with a Montessori school?
Well, like many people around the world in the Montessori method, sometimes Montessori finds you, sometimes you find it. And some people say, well, you've changed. No, you don't change, you find yourself. And that's what basically happened. All due to my children. It is their fault, if you were to put it that way. Which I'm very happy that have to come to this path, because it's a path of basically awareness. One as a Montessori educator, leader, teacher, whatever you want to call it, has to work so much on yourself before you can go and transmit anything, that it is a beautiful journey, and it's a journey of awareness, of seeing where you're standing and who you are and those around you, as well as environment. In the Montessori method, we educate a child what we call cosmic education. Some people might say, whoa, what is that? Basically, cosmic education, we go from the whole, the cosmos, the universe, to the single unit, ourselves, and our relation with that big whole. And to understand all that, we know that everything is interconnected. We all are part of that universe, and we understand our position in that universe. And that's how the child gets to be a more peaceful human being, a more aware human being. And that is why basically we focus on. And in a cosmic education, we all have what we call cosmic tasks. Some we know that we're doing, some we are not. So you are aware or unaware of these cosmic tasks. For example, a bee is having a cosmic task that is not completely aware of. Goes from flower to flower while trying to get the nectar for their honey. They're passing this pollen. So they're doing a task that they're not aware of. And now, as human beings, we sometimes are very much aware of the actions that we're taking, but we choose to ignore them. And that's what we're trying to bring, a message of awareness of what we're doing to our planet. And that is the reason, the biggest reason that I'm here today talking to you, to try to bring that awareness of, call it a wake-up call of what we're actually doing, all the impact, whether good or bad, we're doing. I mean, right now, how many people live on Earth? Millions, billions of people. And if every single one of us were to do just a tiny bit, we will be living in a different world, completely different place.
That's exactly our notion that we want to spread as well. I think that sounds very much in line with a good company's values. So that's what you do when you're at work, or that's also, I'm assuming, a little bit of a way of life. But what do you do how do you spend your free time? What do you do in your free time?
When you do at work, I'm never at work. That's the difference. And when you become a Montessorian, it is, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about religion, but a priest is a priest at church. And what is a priest outside of the church? Still a priest. He does it, although he might have different clothing and he might have a different way of behaving, at the end of the day, he's a priest. So it's a way of living rather than a job. I love cooking. In my household, we basically eat everything non-processed. So we are a bit of a different family due to many reasons, mostly going health reasons. At the beginning, my children were very much allergic to everything. So we went from, let's call it an almost household cooking to a fully cooked at home, aiming to go as much as we can organic. And when I say as much as we can, it's as much as we can find rather than buy. My children don't eat sugar, processed sugars. So we all cook at home. And that's the biggest part of our lives. We consume what we produce, and in a way has changed dramatically the way we approach any consumption. And I'm not talking about only food. I'm talking about toiletry products. I'm talking about household products. I'm talking about clothing, because we see the impact that all these products bring into our body and our environment, that we're so conscious, to the point that I've had my children, one of them is 7 years old, is taking a product out of a shelf and reading, oh, it's got chemicals, or it's got these. And it's that awareness at that age that they know what they should or they shouldn't have, which is harmful for them or not. In the past, before we went into the Montessori method, We will be buying silly toys for the children. When I mean silly toys, all sorts of plastics. They will last a week, a month, and they will end up in the bin. We will have parents or friends or family coming on a birthday, and there will be tons of presents, which they will, because of the level of awareness, play with them for a second, and then they will end up in the dumpster or in a corner in the bedroom. And nowadays, they do appreciate what they have, and they do understand what they're playing with, because they're very much aware of the environment, they're very much aware of their necessities and their needs. And there is no that, how would you describe it, a massive consumption or massive need of, I want to have. Like right. Nowadays, you see with children, you see a children passing in front of the shop, I want it, I want it, I want it. And that need, if it is fed, is momentary. It takes seconds. I played, bin, I want the next one, rather than to really understand what you have and the value of it. And we're not talking about monetary value, we're not talking about the coin, we're talking about what it took for this item to be in my hands, the understanding. At school, we educate children. Once again, we talked about your beautiful stone paper. We were trying to understand how long or how does it take to get a normal paper into our hands from the tree. How long does it take a tree to grow? How long does a tree to fall down when they cut it? And how long does it take for us to take a piece of paper, write it, put it together to the bin? Where does it go? The whole process. And that's how we go from this cosmic education. We go from the whole to the small, and then everything is interconnected. So it is beautiful to see all these children with this big wow. And they understand what they have. And because they understand what they have, they're very conscious of the actions. So it is a beautiful, we are basically witness. We're witnessing children. We're helping them help themselves rather than telling them what to do or instructing them. So it's a completely different approach.
That's very nice. How many children do you have?
Okay, right now we have around 130.
Okay.
We could have expanded dramatically, but for us, it is not a business. As we said before, it's a way of life. And we want to do it in the most appropriate way. We're not cutting corners, we're not speeding it up. We got a building, we got a maximum limit of 200. We were in the position to open 2 more classes, but we didn't feel that we were there yet. As in a whole, because it's not only just to get a teacher, it's the administration part. And we have 130 children, and we're very happy with the community because it's not only about the children, it's the families. We work so closely with our families that we become one big family. And the child, we know that the child will go from the school to their house, and the parents will follow the same mentality. So there would not be a confusion of the child. Why do I do this there, and what do I do differently here?
Right. So, that's a very nice notion.
It is. I mean, we do have a lot of parents' meetings. We have social events with the parents. We have a lot of training with the parents. And you can see they're very much interested. I just had today in the morning one of the fathers telling me, well, I think I'm going to join you for the full next week.
Really?
He's so excited. He's so excited of all the things that we're doing in school, because once again, if a child is happy and is interested in what's happening, the learning experience is just natural. And that's the Montessori way. It is not imposed. Anyone who gets imposed, you need to learn this from the A to the B, it blocks. If we're doing, for example, these experiments that we were mentioning with this stone paper, for them it's just amazing to see the reality of what's happening, what is the experiment about. And learning is happening, understanding is happening, but there is nothing being imposed to the child. So when we talk to the parents, or even the children talk to the parents get curious. Well, I want to know, I want to see, I want to touch. So they go, oh, can I join you? Which is beautiful to see.
It's very beautiful. Maybe there should be a Montessori school for adults.
Well, that's something that it is in our mind, it is in our vision. I wouldn't call them dreams, because dreams are things that you just sleep over. We're working towards that. We want to do call it a Montessori adult school, but it's not to teach them in the Montessori ways, to teach them how we approach life. And there is soon we'll be collaborating with somebody who's wrote a book from 0 to 3 years of age. So there's Montessori at home for the mothers. We aim at teaching mothers to be, because at the end of the day, when we're parents, when we become parents, there is not such a university that teaches you, or a school, this is how you have to be. We normally take from our parents how we were treated or how we were educated, which generally is, call it outdated, because times move, we change. I personally was born in the 70s, and I'm not going to, judge my parents. That's what they knew. That's what they were taught before. That's what they passed on to me. I had the opportunity to be in the path of education, which has changed my whole parenthood views dramatically. So, and I found that it was amazing. So I'm in the position, call it of power, to be able to transmit that information, hence giving the opportunity from you guys to be here today, to be able to express myself and to bring all that forward. It is amazing. So we are aiming at creating parents courses, from birth to 3 years of age, at home, because that's another thing. We in Montessori, we have what we call the prepared environment. We prepare an environment for the child, and this environment is being prepared scientifically in a very organized manner. And you can prepare your house in that way for your child to have freedoms, to be able to be self-efficient as very young as they could be. We believe in the potential of the child, which in traditional education, we believe, no, he's too young to do this. He's too young. We limit the child as parents, as adults. No, he's too young to do that. No, you cannot carry this. Wait, I'll do it for you. We're limiting those children. In a prepared environment, we allow them that freedom. Obviously, with a prepared environment, you're not going to give an extremely sharp knife to a child to cut the apple, but you may weigh to a very blunt knife that they can try. So you're giving them that freedom, that self-confidence of, I can do it, of practicing and failing and re-practicing again. So it builds confidence, and confidence is the core of the Montessori education into the child. They're confident, they will keep trying all sorts of things. And we're talking about education, we're not talking about, we're talking about the whole social relationships, awareness, environment, skills of all kinds. And we are very much in contact with the environment. Maria Montessori was pointing very much into the environment. And she talks in one of her books, it's called To Educate the Human Potential. The universe is an imposing reality and an answer to all questions. All things are part of a universe and are connected with each other to form one whole unity.
That's beautiful.
All together. And that's from Maria Montessori, To Educate the Human Potential. It is amazing. This lady, nearly more than 100 years ago, she came up with this. If you were to read into her philosophy and you understand it, you tend to think, this is basic. This is no, rocket science. She looked at the human being as an object, and she, as a scientist, comes with all these ideas of how we should be treated from childhood and how we should not be treated. And it is amazing. She writes in such a way that she, being a scientist, is putting education in a context. She's observing children. She created, I would say, 90% of all the materials that we work with today. And that was 100 years ago. And they are so relevant that you would not even dare to change them. They've been additions over the years by Montessorians, or even her son was involved in certain additions of the materials. Most of these materials are being created by her. So wow. it is a yeah, that's the only word. When you keep going into it and when you keep seeing all the outcomes that she herself sat and said, wow, we see it every day in our children. And when you read something, it's different as when you experience it in real life. If somebody told you this child will be self-disciplined and he will find himself looking for work, or even asking you, what else can I do? You would think, what? 7, 8 years of age asking you to work? I doubt that, but when you experience it, it's nothing but wow.
Yeah. So Maria Montessori had a very specific concept of the entire society working together.
The other thing is, with her, she was a scientist. She was one of the first physicians, women, to get graduated in Italy. At that time, she must have been very strong-willed. She traveled the world. She experimented with her method all around the world in different levels of society. And it is a universal method. It's not. So most of the people think it's only for rich people. No, I've seen the Montessori method in Africa, which is being built by people with no resources or little, with exact same materials. Instead of made from a nice wood, made rudimentary, the children are behaving in a way very similar to our children here, to the children that would be in the US, to the children that would be in Scandinavia, in any other country. You will see the same effect everywhere at different levels of society. The rich, the poor, the middle class, whatever class you want to see it, you take a child, at the end of the day, we are all the same. We are all humans. We have the same tendencies. We have the same needs. For some of us, obviously, we are exposed to different environments because, once again, we live in different climates. We wear different clothing because of our climate. We eat different foods because of our culture. But we all humans. We all eat. We all sleep. We all breathe equally as each other. So that's what she saw. She saw that we all just simply humans. We need to approach them all within reason in the same way. I've had the experience. Right now, we receive 4 new teachers, international teachers.
That's right.
One American, one German, one from Singapore, and another American. There is a couple, they travel the world. They've been in Germany, in the US, in Japan, in Hungary. So they have had the experience to teach Montessori in these different countries. And obviously the biggest question from any Montessori, how is it? How is it that you approach children? Of course, society, the cultural differences, they will be there. But at the end of the day, you're treating the child with the same respect. You give in the presentations, we call them presentation. Some people will call it class in traditional education. We present materials to children. We leave it to them for them to work. We treat the children all the same way. There will be different languages, there will be different cultures, but the method, it works with absolutely everybody. Once again, one world, one species, humans, planet.
Yeah, that's a great, that leads me on to the next question. So what in your mind is, I think you've seen it here, what in your mind is society's greatest challenge right now?
Well, the challenge that we all experiencing right now is mostly there are two sides: the people in power and the people who are not in power. The people who are not in power, we always believe, and I was discussing this with my wife, in terms of environment, for example. She said, in the past, I always thought I couldn't make a change. I'm only one person. That's what she told me, that kind of like strike her. In the past, I always remember people talking about environment. What can I do as a single individual? And that's why I was telling you before. Single individual, yeah, but we are billions of people in the same planet. If every single one of them, connected or not connected, try to do a tiny bit, that little grain of sand in the sea or drop of water in the ocean will become big. It doesn't matter, you are doing the same as I am doing, but we are all contributing. And we are not making that change. That's our biggest challenge. To throw the first stone, to make this first step. If we don't do it, it will never happen. Now, those in power, I've read history of all social cultures in Rome, in Egypt. It is power. When they make these decisions, it's all about self-empowerment. They don't think of the whole. That is the biggest challenge, to have somebody in power who kind of like have the big picture. It's not about me, it's about all of us. And that is the two, I would say personally, the biggest challenges. Us, the common people, to try to make that first step, and those in power to start looking and being aware of my actions. Yes, they go into my bank account, wherever is corruption or is I want to get into a bigger position, and not making that change for the rest of us. And the rest of us, including themselves, because at the end of the day, if we're not making a change today, in 10 years, 20 years, even today, we're paying the consequences of those actions that happened not far ago. Factories throwing pollutants to the ocean, to the rivers, digging trenches to bury chemicals, thinking, oh, it's going to get forgotten.
Have you seen any climate impact where you live?
Most definitely. I mean, to begin with, I'm still very much connected to the UK. I listen to BBC Radio and BBC World, and you can hear about these heat waves all around Southern Europe. People suffocating in cars, even in houses. Droughts. Right now, a couple of weeks ago, I was in the seaside in Poland, in the Baltic Sea. And beautiful weather, amazing. A couple of times we couldn't go into the water. They got these red flags. And I'm asking my wife, what is that? Can you ask? Obviously, the people in the lifesavers, call them, or the sea rescue teams, they explained to her that there is this bacteria, it's called cyanobacteria in the Baltic Sea, that because of changes in the temperature of the water, raising temperatures, there is a bacteria that is coming to the shores, brought by the tide, and that bacteria is so harmful for humans. And you could see the water, it had some sort of, how would you describe it? Do you know when you go a pan with oil and you fill it up with water, that oily cream at the top? And that's a bacteria. That is not actually a chemical from a factory, which is what it comes to mind. It's just literally the seas are rising in temperature and they are creating this bacteria. As I told you before, I was born in Venezuela and I did a diving course. I'm a certified diver, and I remember diving in the coast of the Caribbean Sea. Amazing coral reefs. Today, they no longer exist. There is this effect, it's called coral bleaching. Coral bleaching, once again, temperatures rise. They're very sensible to temperature, and these coral reefs are what for air is the Amazon to us. Just yesterday, I'm listening about the Amazon in Brazil burning, and some people actually quite happy because it will expand the land for them to cultivate all sorts of things. And you think it is, the technology is there, the awareness is there, the information is there. How do, in the animal kingdom, you see an animal finding something that is harmful for them, they just run away. We are the only animal that keeps banging and banging against the same rock. Worst of all, we have a scientist telling you it is proven that it's not good for you. Doesn't matter, let's do it again. So that is a message that we need to think, where do we want to go? I want my children in 20 years to be able to bathe in the sea, to be able to dive and watch what a coral reef is, to be able to eat fish, because at one point there's certain species that they would disappear. So my aim is to do something today that perhaps my children in 30 years, 40, 50 years, perhaps I'm no longer here, they got the chance to experience what I have when I was a child. Not to suffer because there is no water, because it's too hot, because most of the plants and animals and species that they lived when you and me we were children, they no longer exist. So that is what we really need to do today as a society. Make a step.
Right. I completely agree. So just to wrap that up a little bit, so that's basically the idea of a good community, is to have individuals like yourself sharing your ideas and what you view as challenges and opportunities for individuals and us as a society, and then we share them on our platform so that people can get inspired. And I think that's definitely something that you will have done today. Is there something you want to add in terms of why you want to be part of a good community and what you think it signifies?
Why do I want to be? Just basically because I feel no less than it is my duty. It is my duty to be in this position of, call it privilege, that I've been fortunate enough to be where I am, to have what I have. But obviously it's been in a way due to work, but I've been in the right place at the right time. Let's put it that way. I've seen people who work really hard all their life and they're unable to achieve the things that I have. So because I feel myself in a position of privilege, I believe it's my duty to contribute. And I'm sure most of the people feel in that way. It's a contribution to society. It's a contribution to our planet, to my family. And that is the biggest thing that I want to do right now. Talking about technology, we got all sorts of technology. The problem is not the actual technology, it's the misuse of it. Today, you are far away from where I am, but yet we're sitting, looking at each other and conversating and discussing very important issues. That's how you use technology in a productive way. And that is how we can see all the studies, all the research that people do, and we use it in a positive way. So my duty, simply and plain.
That's very nicely put. Then my last question is, we're including a lot of different people and individuals in a good community. Is there something that you would like to see, some special person or special profession that you would be interested in hearing more about?
Well, if you were to ask me, scientists are doing an excellent job right now, researchers. We know that they're there working hard to find the answers. For me, is the people who are actually in control, who can make things change truly. Locally, where we are, there are many changes that we personally, or as a community here, believe that they could be changed. we aim at being talking to the local government shortly, to see how these changes can come into a reality. But generally, for me, is to really be able to talk to perhaps politicians, that they are in a position of power, of actually making these changes, of being interested of what's actually happening. There's many people like you and me that we're very interested. Not long ago, I came across these two gentlemen that apparently they were surfers, and they went into Bali and they saw all this plastic. Well, today is a big organization. I don't know if you've heard about them. It's called 4Ocean.
Yes.
They collect all this plastic, recycle it. They make bracelets that you buy, and with that money, they are actually paying those people who used to go to fish, who can no longer do because it's full of plastic. They are collecting that plastic, so they are cleaning that. Excellent work, but that's not the solution. The solution is to stop that plastic coming onto the ocean in first place. To try to bring that education. Who can bring that education? Governments. And unfortunately, we're losing all that because of power, because of politics. Education is the exact same thing. For us, it's so important because we're working with our future. Today, I'm working on a 7-year-old child. I'm giving my life to them because I'm working for my future, their future. Those like you and me, we've had a relatively stretch of life, we've been educated, we can change, we can see things, but it takes a lot more effort for you and me to try to change our minds as it takes for a child that is in our school. That's why it's so important for us, education. So if I was to talk to somebody, it would be somebody in power, to see perhaps what are the restrictions. We got technology, electric cars. Why is no more investment on that? We have a car that can run without pollutants, but no, we choose to have a diesel or fossil fuels car polluting all our planet. So if we have an intention, there will be a change. The problem is there is no intention of changing, that there will be no change, because we know we're not working towards that.
Okay, thank you so much, Reinaldo.
Well, it's been a pleasure
talking to you.
I feel honored to be able to have the chance to express myself.
Okay, I'm gonna end the recording.